What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, May 4th, Kentucky Derby week. And this is Blinkers Off. What's up, my man?
What is up? Yes, happy Derby to everybody. The action going on right now at Churchill Downs. We've got race 2 up in 8 minutes at Churchill. So it's exciting, man. Getting ever so close to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. Always love Derby. Always love Oaks and Derby more, though.
It's also May the 4th be with you, right? Star Wars
right.
Day. I had explained that one to Cohen this morning, and he thought that was pretty cool. I said, it's May 4th. He said, yeah. So I said, May the 4th be with you. And he's like, oh, yeah. So there you go. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but still.
He was like, cool. So what are we doing? What's going on? I don't care.
Yeah, he skipped school today because he's like the perfect, like his ears are still hurting from the surgery, and he like milks it big time and comes in, he like lays on the couch and he's like, oh no. And then I'm like, all right, we won't go. And then next thing I know, we're building forts downstairs and all that. So he's got it figured out. He's like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't take him long. He's in kindergarten. It didn't take him long to figure out how to skip school.
I don't know. It decided if I'm proud or if I'm worried. But yeah, it's Derby week. We have no more left to do. The Friday Kentucky Oaks tomorrow, and then got Saturday for the Kentucky Derby. 2 huge days of racing. Halter and I have been handicapping. Well, we all have, but for the Bible, been handicapping 13 races on Friday, 14 races on Saturday. Dude, I don't know that I've ever been more ready for this card, these 2 cards to be here.
Same. Yeah. It's starting to get exciting. Very exciting. Actually, once you kind of got the plan finalized, it's like, all right, let's run them for better or for worse. Let's run them. I can tell you this, I'm going to have zero regrets when Sunday comes rolling around, win or lose. I feel really good about the game plan I put together. Whether I win or lose, that's going to be up to the racing luck and the racing gods. But I feel like I put together a plan that it's like, well, that fits exactly what I want to do. Now they're either going to win or lose, So that makes it even more exciting. Let's go. Let's just run this thing. Let's see what they do. And hopefully some of them get the job done, and enough of them get the job done that we make money.
Yeah, and Shadi says, can't wait to dig into the Bible. The Bible's out there right now. It's got everything, but it's got your picks. It's got your every bet you're making. My picks they're pending. I've got mine done. I just got to add them into the Bible. So stay tuned for that. Look for an email coming out here in the next couple of hours when it is official. It is out there if you want to go ahead and get started on it, but look for the update coming soon. And yeah, I'm kind of like, Christopher, like the recipe read. If you guys listened to the live show earlier, we did a draft between all of us on the team we did, you had to pick one from the Oaks, one for the Derby, and then you could pick 5 other ones. Was it 5 or 7?
5.
We had 5. We had 5 total. So you had to pick 2 of those had to be from the Derby and Oaks. But yeah, to this point, like I have a recipe red. I love that horse but I think I feel better about the undercard races on Oaks and Derby Day than I do probably either one of the Derby or the Oaks races.
That's why the guide's really valuable. And that's why I've been telling, people that ask me about the Derby, I said, well, let's not forget they're running 27 races. And out of the 27, the Derby's not on my top 5 of most confident races. And you're right. Undercard races are going to be big for us. I definitely am ready for the undercard races both days. I really like it. You talk about a Resmi Red as well. And yeah, I'm kind of with you and Christopher Maiello there. He seems to like this horse too. Ran pretty darn well last time out. Should improve off that effort, but none of these races are easy, right? Even when you love a horse, it's like, damn, there's some good horses that, hey, my horse could run really well and still lose. So, and that's a Resmi Red as well. I like him, but the race is not going to be easy for him.
It's one of those, like, you have Caravel on, is Caravel on Friday? Right. Who obviously beat Resmi Red. And so if you like Resmi Red so much, you got to like Caravel, and Caravel is arguably a much easier race. And so there's some of those races where on the undercard on both days where it feels like you've got some clear horses to bet, clear horses to single, clear horses to pound or to key or whatever you want to look at it. But we all know it's the Derby and the Oaks. Something crazy will happen on one of these undercards. Some of these horses won't fire. So it's all about making the betting plan structure it how you think you can maximize the value. And like you said earlier, just hope that hope that they run like you think they will.
Yep.
That's really I mean,
That's just it.
you can't make them win. You got to hope they run like you think they will. So
I can't be more blunt about it. I really like what I've done. I could lose every race. It's racing, and that can happen sometimes. I don't think I'm going to lose every race, obviously, but I can't feel any better than what I'm going to present in the Bible.
uh,
That's just how it is. And that doesn't mean that they're locks to win. It's just the more I looked at it, it's like, look, this is how I feel I need to bet. I feel really good about it. They'll go how they go. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but feel good about them.
Extraneo comes back on race 1 on Saturday. Kick things off. You and I both have pretty solid bets on that one in the Bible, and kick things off with that. Yeah, good to see him back. More interested to see what it means for him after where he's going. And yeah, you're right. It's not the easiest. I mean, it's not the toughest of fields. You have one horse in there that could make him work a little more than you would think on a debut race like that. Seems pretty clear, other than him, that everyone kind of avoided him in this race. But yeah, off the injury, haven't seen him. His maiden race was spectacular, but still, you don't know what he's going to be. So that's an interesting one. But more than anything, I'm excited to have him back because I do think he is, he's an elite talent.
He is, and yeah, we'll see what happens with him. We'll see how he runs. He's got a very tough horse that he's going to have to beat. Um, I mean, we'll see if he's back though, and he's doing really well. I think he'll be tough, but um,
Uh,
you got to run him.
Christopher says, I do think Woody Stevens is probably the spot. I would seems like they might go this race, Woody Stevens, and then go right into the summer racing, the Haskell, Jim Dandy, Travers, whatever it is. I mean, the goal has to be, we're not going to the Derby, obviously. So now the goal is let's go to the Travers. Let's work our way back from that. How do we get to the Travers?
Yeah, just how quickly do you want to stretch him out? That's the big question. And if you want to stretch him out quick, then go to the Matt Win. If not, Woody Stevens would be perfect. But again, his first race back, going to face a very good horse in that race. So we'll just see how he does, how he comes back. It's no guarantee they're going to come back and be as good as they were.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hope that you look at like Life is Good that came back off the same injury and looked just as good as he did, if not better. So I mean, they didn't rush him back. That's key.
Yep.
There was they very very slow with him. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. I guess I don't know. I mean, you don't understand the hype. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, you don't like. I've seen a lot of people that don't understand the hype. I've heard a lot of, well, he didn't beat anything in that race. He also beat him when it won by 10 in first gear. I mean, put up one of the high buyers of any horse running in the 3-year-olds and did it on debut. So I don't know. I mean, I certainly could bounce from that. Certainly could be not as good as, but just based off breeding, based off kind of what we've heard all along about the horse, and based off what he looked like, seems like the goods are there. But I guess we'll find out.
Well, it's true. He didn't beat anybody. I mean, absolutely nobody in that field. So that is definitely true. But he beat him easily. And I mean, the good news about it is you have another horse you can play. So if you don't understand the hype, there seems to be a clear next horse, or maybe he's your top horse. So
yep,
you can make money if you don't like him. So maybe that's good news for you for sure. I mean, I certainly think anytime you go from a maiden to an allowance, that step is tricky sometimes, right? And so we've heard a lot of good things about him. We know the barn's really high on him. If you don't believe in him, the number 3 horse in that race looks pretty good. So I'd go with him if you don't buy the hype.
Yeah, and just wrote one last thing, but Kevin's comment, like there is an allowance race, the race after the Derby that is a pretty solid. It's mile 16th race. I think if I was with you, Kevin, at first you're like, man, I wish he would have been in that one, but I think they're not. They're actually cutting back in this race. They went from he debuted at 7, they're cutting back to 6.5. I think they're gonna be very careful with how they get him to, like Halterman said, to point B. How do you get him to that stretch out distance? And I don't think you do it his first start back in however many months.
See, I'm kind of the opposite, Kevin. I just feel like he's only ran once in a sprint. You're trying to build him back up to something. I think going a route would have been a little bit more of a risk. So I kind of like the sprint. I kind of thought this was what they would target. So, but I get it. I mean, I get your point. You're thinking, hey, you'd love to see him stretch out, but I think we'll see that soon enough.
All right, yeah. So obviously, how we're going to play that, I think there's some ways. I do think he's going to be bet hard 3 to 5, 4 to 5, somewhere in that department. There's way probably to make money on that. Halterman and I both take a stab at that in the betting Bible. Make sure you go get the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks betting Bible over at racingdudes.com. It is available right now on the products page. All right, what do we say? Let's there's a couple of big races this weekend. Let's get to it. We're going to preview and give picks for Saturday's $3 million Kentucky Derby and Friday's $1.3 million Longines Kentucky Oaks at Churchill Downs. Let's go. All right, let's bring this up. And we're going to start with the Oaks. Get that one going here. I think people are, let's save the best for last. How about that?
Just a quick comment on Kevin. I see from a fan perspective, you were talking. I couldn't agree more because the allowance 2-turn race on Churchill or on Kentucky Derby Day. If you put him in that one, that's almost better than the Derby. It's really good. So I get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been something to have him in that race right after, and say he wins by like a pole, when you're like, oh my gosh, like imagine
Yeah.
if he would have been healthy enough to get to the Derby.
Yep.
But I do think he could be, an elite talent. I do think he's going to come back strong. Aspeson Horses has been running very well lately. That last work was pretty telling, I think, of how good he's doing. So I don't know. They're going to move though. Those two horses like to go, and be interesting to see how that race kind of plays out. So.
Yep.
Oh, we got. I don't know if you can. If you guys want, Chris says he's heard Practical Move has been scratched. Is there any? Is that just a rumor, or is that an actual thing you've seen, Chris?
And who is Chris? That's the next question.
Well, let's be honest. Yeah, let's be careful with our sources here. We're not going to say it happened, but we're going to look at while this goes. It might be interesting. Might have some scratches as we go live here. That he would be a huge one. I haven't seen anything there, and
yeah, he has been scratched. Yeah.
Yep.
Wave 3 News reports Practical Move, trained by Tim Yakteen and jockey by Ramon Vasquez, has been scratched due to a fever. The defection will allow Cyclone Mischief, trained by Louisville's Dale Romans, to enter the competition. So there you go.
There you go. It's sort of official, and I like I've told a lot of people about this. I like Cyclone Mischief a lot, and it's interesting that he's now in the race. I think from a pace standpoint, it is going to make the race a little more interesting.
Yep, no question.
All right. Well, breaking news while we're going live here. So, Shoddy, it's okay. It's okay. I imagine we'll still see him. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. I might see him on the maybe the Preakness following this. Yeah, it's a bummer because he's been awesome this year, and regardless of if you thought he was going to win or not, he is one of the most talented. I'll argue with, and I started off as one of the haters of Practical Move. He's one of the most talented horses in this race. Maybe he doesn't want to go the distance, but he is a very talented horse. So it is a bummer that he at least doesn't get to go out there. And because I do think he would have got a good trip, and I do think we would have saw what he is. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the bummer of it. But yeah, we'll see what he does from here on out. You look at a case that's very different, but you look at a case like Go Rock and Ride in the Santana Derby. He gets a fever and a little sick before that, and he just now made his first work back. So you never know what is really going on, maybe with the issue. So I think Shoddy, and for anybody that was a fan, it'll be interesting to see how soon you see him, back on that work tab. If they ship him back, like if they ship him back out to Cali, which they probably will, definitely gives you doubts about going to the Preakness.
He ain't going to the Preakness.
There you go.
I think he's out.
Okay, let me find that official tweet here while you can. And I'm gonna send it out. So this is happening on the fly, folks.
It's going to affect odds. That's what I hate too.
Yep.
But I mean, it's good to know it now versus this time Saturday, let's say.
I, you know, I'm with you because even though I was taking somewhat of a defensive position around him, I did not think he was going to win, but I thought he would run well. But yeah, like you said, now because I also thought the line on Tap at Trice was a little low, a little high on Practical Move, so I thought that would get some. Just there would maybe you'd get 6-1 on Practical Move or on Tap at Trice, and definitely don't think Cycle Mischief is going to take Practical Move money. So
No, I don't either. It does. I want to pull up a, a quote that Shoddy put from Dale Romans. I wasn't going to pull it up because, like, yeah, it's Romans, but he said he's pretty sure he's getting in. Well, now he is getting in. Watching the horses out there, there's a couple, and I want to reiterate that word, couple of them I don't think are running. There's one. Will there be more is now the question.
is Dill Romans is he a wizard? Does he
Well, one
know?
thing about Dale, he's there at Churchill every morning watching the works. He knows when one isn't looking quite right. So he would be qualified to say that better than most of us. So there
Do
you
we
go.
also can we also confirm or deny that he may have? Is there any parts of this that maybe he poisoned the horse or something to get in the race?
It
Do we
could
know that
be.
for sure?
When you think about it, this horse deserves to be in it. He's ran well in the big races down there at Florida.
So I'm interested to know. We don't know because we'll continue to look, guys. Cycle Mischief actually had Rosario on board as far as in the also eligibles, but we know Rosario is riding Disarm, so I don't know yet. We'll wait to see on actually who's going to get that. Um, I'm sure not having a too hard a time of who's left to get one in. Obviously, don't have a horse in the Derby, but yeah, Mandarin Hero next one in if there is a scratch. So the Japanese horse who finished third, was he third or second?
Second.
Skinner was third. Second in the San Diego Derby. He can get in with one more scratch. So we'll see. What do you have up till when's the final? Is it tomorrow?
24 hours, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
So it's coming up pretty quick. Well, Friday. Yeah. It's not that quick, but boy, Mandarin Hero would be very interesting if he got in.
Yeah, that would be huge because I do think I think Cycle Mischief speeds it up a little bit more, and I do think Mandarin Hero is very interesting, benefiting from the pace. So,
what do you think of the conspiracy theory? Illegal drugs? They don't want to get caught? Is that why? No.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, just seeing.
It's all. He's healthy. They were afraid. I think Baffert had something to do with it. Actually, get a big future wager on Tabit Trice, so he couldn't have Practical Move in there. All right, what do you say?
Do it.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna go to the Oaks now, which I don't believe there's many scratches. So stay tuned. Maybe we got some live. All right, Friday at Churchill Downs, race 11, the Longines Kentucky Oaks, grade 1, 1.25. Dude, I swear they had it at 1.3 originally, but at $1.25 million, one of those two for fillies, 3-year-olds going a mile and eighth. Field of 14 with a couple also eligibles in the race. It's huge field as it usually is. Field of 14, headlined by your favorite here. The number 7, Wet Paint at 5-2. You've got the other Brad Cox at 4-1. Botanical, who's very interesting. Really past those two, you got your options. 8-1 on South Lawn. Wonder Wheels at 12-1. The Japanese horse Mimi Kikuchi is 20-1, who's getting a little bit of attention in the mornings. You've got Affirmative Lady at 10-1 for motion is interesting. Pretty Mischievous at 10-1. So really, Halterman, if you're against Wet Paint, and really if you're against, say, just the Brad Cox horses, you got pretty much your pick here as far as what you want. You can't be too upset with the odds.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. I think it is what it is. You knew she was going to be short, but I don't think she's going to be that short. Um, Look, I just think she's the best horse, and I think I've been thinking that for 3 races she's been in now. I was a little bit worried she might just be a slop horse, but then she ran even better, I thought, on a dry track. I get it. If you don't want to back a short price that comes from last, I understand. I'm not here to tell you to do something different than what you might believe in, but I'm going to go with Wet Paint. I think she will get the trip. I think she's tactical enough around the turn to get in position, and I think she'll finish it off. So give me Wet Paint here. Um, like I said, I don't hate the price because I've been betting her this whole time through the chase, and she's been winning at lesser prices than this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, well, one, I think she's the best horse in the race. I don't think it's an ultimately strong race. I don't think it's bad, but it's not like you don't have same with the or Derby. You don't have like a world beater in there, and I do think even though she has a concerning running style, I do think she is. Uh, going to benefit from this pace setup. I think the pace setup is going to be really nice for her. There's a few in here that I think are really going to want to go. And yeah, I just think the pace in general of this race seems fast, don't you think?
It seems like it's going to be. Yeah. And it also seems like some contenders have drawn some pretty poor posts too, like the 13 and the 14, even the 12, if you want to put Darth Vader in that list as well. Didn't draw real great. So they're going to kind of be forced to maybe either go a little faster than what they really wanted to, or drop a little bit further back than where they wanted to. So I thought Wet Paint kind of won the draw too. I think she wins the pace setup as well. I think it's her. I think it's South Lawn. I think that's another horse that's a little more tactical than Wet Paint, although she still is going to come from out of it. I think it's one of those two horses coming down, and I don't really love anybody else in this race. I get that people really like Botanical. I can't get there. Um, I know the trend of what Brad Cox likes to do with his better horses, and Botanical doesn't fit that trend. But at the other side of it, boy, she has been so good on that synthetic surface. If that translates over to the dirt, she's going to be tough, but you're on a new surface and facing a pace that's going to be pretty fast. I'm just a little worried about her at a short price.
Dude, the way when I look at this race, man, it's just every horse in here. Well, not every horse, but a lot of these horses. Let's just go through them. I don't really know. I think the one likes to be forwardly placed from what I've seen. Not maybe on the lead, but close to it. We'll see how fast she really is here. The Always Look has ran best closer to the lead. It's the Brad Cox. You got to think that he's going to help that one. If nothing else, is going to help set this thing up. South Lawn has one on the lead, but no matter what, likes to be somewhat forwardly placed. Wonder Will, same. Botanical, yeah. Wet Paint, nope. The 8 horse from Sheer America. I mean, that's a horse that likes to be forwardly placed. And Tell Me No Lies will come out of it most likely. Flying Connection, definitely a horse that's got a lot of pace. Defining Purpose, pace, likes to be somewhat close to it. Darth Vader, same. Affirmative Lady can sit kind of mid pack, I would say, and Pretty Mischievous, another horse that probably does her best running closer to the lead. Dude, I just went through the whole field. That's a lot of pace. It just seems like if Wet Paint can kind of just do her thing like she's been doing and kind of hang out in the back, she should run by these horses. The pace will be there. And she's won on like every surface. I mean, on every dirt surface, imaginable. It feels like she can win. She's very versatile. She's won on the wet. She's won on the sloppy. Sounds like we could get that. Who the hell knows what the weather is right now? It keeps changing in Louisville. But if there is an off track of some sort, I think I've heard Godolphin, man. I've heard Godolphin horses all weekend should be loaded and ready to run. So I just think there's too much to like. I'm worried about the price. I wish we could lock in 5-2 because I think she's going to be more like 9-5 or something.
I'm afraid you're right, because I'm afraid when it comes down to it, people are going to handicap it just like you did and be like, look, I mean, she's really consistent. Are there any other really consistent horses in here? Not really. That's really, I mean, there are some, but not really those at that level that have been consistent at her level 3 out of 3. If it rains, you're fine. If it's dry, you're fine. The pace looks good. Yeah, pretty much everything he said.
I'm hearing Rosario has first preference on disarm. So obviously, not sure who will be riding Cyclone. Still waiting to hear if like who's gonna that. Another thing I'm thinking like thought of. We'll get to the Derby in a second. Now all of a sudden, Derma gets to. You don't have to be worried about Derma in the 17 hole. He's gonna move down one. Now he's in the 16 spot. So curse gone.
So now it's what, Rocket Can? Okay.
Yeah. So how it works is they just, if you guys remember Rich Strike, I mean, they just kind of bump down, and
Yeah.
then the new horse, so Cycle of Mischief, that'll be a terrible spot for him, but he's in.
Yeah.
So, remember, yeah, Kevin, actually, you know what I heard? This is a true story. It's not really, but I heard that Mahomes
Right.
is going to just go riders up, and then he's just going to hop on the ass of Cycle and Mischief, and there we go.
That's right. That's true.
And
True story.
if he let's be honest, like if that happened, which I didn't realize is impossible, that horse that horse would be bet. People would be like, Mahomes is on him. I gotta bet this horse. Like, dude, the horse might go off at like 10-1 because everybody in the betting public would be like, "Oh, this is cool."
I just got an email here saying, yeah, still no rider for Cyclone Mischief.
So I don't know how you would. Yeah, exact, Gabe. Is the stat about that? I don't know. It's a stat about the 17 hole or the 17 number.
I don't care.
I don't know. I was actually wondering that as myself. I mean, I'm not gonna. It wasn't like a factor for me,
No.
but it is. I don't know the actual answer to that. All right, so you and I are both on wet paint here. Are you hesitant to play her? Like, what price are you comfortable with playing her to win?
I think 9 to 5 is fine. Totally fine. If she goes down to like 6 to 5, 7 to 5, then you start to be like, what is it? I don't know about this, but I don't think that's going to be realistic. I think she'll be right around 8, 9 to 5, maybe 2 to 1 if we're lucky. So I think she's fine. I don't think you have to worry about price unless it just gets weird, for lack of a better word.
Dane K says, I hope everyone overlooks the one in the Oaks. It's just the Japanese horse who ran first in the UAE Oaks. Thoughts on this horse? I know our girl, Dr. Miranda, she's been out there in the mornings, been raving about how good she looked on the track. Was rattled off 3 wins in a row. Last time out, going a mile and 3/16, looked really good. I mean, I know where I am on her. I mean, it's just like we got to wait and see approach with her, but I haven't heard much on her other than how good she looks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horse that if you want to play a long shot, it's definitely, it's like we don't know. She's kind of the unknown, so it's like, okay, maybe she comes over here and she's just really good. Of course, Japanese horses have been doing well internationally, so wouldn't be a complete shock if you want to play a long shot. That is one that kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Okay, so give me another long shot other than like, okay, first of all, South Lawn sitting there at 8-1 seems way too high, right?
Yeah,
I mean, winner of the Kentucky or Fairgrounds Oaks. I may have just put her in there. Rattled off 2 in a row. Another really good horse, or horse that's a lot of good reports, I should say. Don't you think it's more like 5-1, 4-1?
Yep, I would
Cut in
say.
half.
Yeah, we get bet a little more than that for sure. I think the 2 horses on the outside, number 13, Affirmative Lady, number 14, Pretty Mischievous. I think those are 2 horses that make sense. And look, they have bad posts. I don't think they're going to take money because of those bad posts. If they could be double digits, they probably shouldn't be. I don't think they can win. They might be able to hit the board.
Yeah, Affirmative Lady to me is a horse that's pretty interesting here. A horse that, motion's been pretty high on, been running her kind of straight into stakes out of the maiden special weight. Won the Gulfstream Park Oaks last out. I don't know that she's good enough, but I'm with you. I think that underneath, I think could be a big factor in here. They act like the longer the better for her, so this distance is not a concern.
Mhm.
Getting Johnny V aboard, who rode the horse three races of at the beginning of her career, so I think she's an interesting one underneath. Pretty Mischievous is the one I think I'm mostly against that could burn me because I think I picked her in the Fairgrounds Oaks, and just one of those
Mhm.
that looked pretty damn good. Other than just before that, it looked good in the race. South Lawn just looked way better, so it's like you could definitely see it. Make a case that she could rebound here, but the draw to me was enough to take a shot or take a stand against again.
I was kind of willing to play her here until the draw, and then the
Yeah.
draw came, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have her underneath. I just couldn't get her to win. But you're right. She was the boss down at Fairgrounds until that loss to South Lawn. So that's what turned me on South Lawn. But I kept Pretty Mischievous in third. I got a lot of respect for her. She's another one. She's been very consistent at the stakes level. So that's the good news, right? The bad news is obviously 14 hole got beat pretty easily by South Lawn last time. So there's definitely negatives there too. But she's a consistent horse. I think she'll show up and try.
If you're one of those playing potentially, I know there's a lot of money goes into the Oaks Derby doubles. What do you think is a better strategy here to go, unless you just have two huge opinions and just pound it, but like, would it be better to go thin here? Like, who do you, I guess the better question is, who do you feel more strongly about? Like, who you like in the Derby versus this race? Do you think this is one where you go like several horses deep and then you go thin in the Derby, or vice versa if you're playing that double?
No, I think you go thin here. This is where I would go. I just feel like the Derby is just so dramatically wide open. I mean, it is just a mess. And now we've got a scratch, and it's some of these AEs are better than the horses that have been in the field, and we could go on, right? So I think the Derby could be a likely mess here. I think Wet Paint and South Lawn are pretty good contenders. So I would go with those two and then go deeper in the Derby.
Wow, Christopher, you got some stands. Hey, I hope you're right, because if you are, you and I um will be making some money on the weekend. I think because I like both of those horses quite a bit. I like another Brad Cox horse and on Friday as well. So I mean, I definitely feel like it could be one of those days that if you're right about these opinions as far as like these 5-2s, 2-1s, whatever, you got to pound them. So Jack says he likes Wonder Wheel Forte $50 double.
I'm waiting for Wonder Wheel, right? The best version of Wonder Wheel probably sits a decent trip and has a shot. I have not liked her two races so far this year. And both times Mark Cassidy was pretty confident. And usually when he's confident, they run a little better than that. I don't hate it though, Jack. I couldn't get to Wonder Wheel.
Let me look here. Like I know last year there's no way we can look up that, but let me look at like wasn't the year before pretty who won? I'm trying to see what the doubles could possibly play with like a two reasonable. I mean, say you get uh Wet Paint and I mean, even though it is fairly wide open, it there's you could be Tabit Trice, could be Forte, could be Kings Barnes, could be Angel of Empire, all relatively lower ish odds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who won 2017? That was Always Dreaming. The Oaks paid 100. Who won the 2017 Oaks?
No clue.
Oh, Abel Tasman. That horse wasn't
Nope.
huge,
Shorter price. Yeah.
wasn't it? That paid 100. She was a little bit bigger price, I think, but like five, just 10-1. That paid 104. The $2 paid $146.
You're,
I mean,
unless
there's
you get
definitely my point of that is there's definitely money to be made in these. If you like don't want to play, say, 9 to 5 on Wet Paint, and you feel really strongly that she's going to win, well, you could play a double into someone in the Derby,
Mhm.
and you could really maximize that those odds.
Derby double or the Oaks Derby double always pays decent, and even if it's two favorites, it's not the worst payout. So it's a good wager. Most daily doubles do pay pretty well. That's kind of something I've learned over the years. It's like you kind of get into these pick fours and pick fives, and we got to put this together. But if you just kind of pound a double, you're going to be more profitable in the long run. So, I wouldn't be afraid to play a double on this, and even if you like a favorite in one of the leagues.
Well, here's a good one to look at as far as I think it's probably the low end, right? You had like in 2018, you had Monomoy Girl and Justify.
Hmm.
I think Monomoy was a favorite, right?
Hmm.
And then Justify was too. It paid 16 for a dollar, 16.60. So you got 16 to 1, 17 to 1 on that double. So, it makes it tricky. That's probably the low end. Let's just say you get 20 to 1. If you can turn away to get South or well, it could be really either one because if you're against wet paint, South Lawn would be even bigger price. But if you are wet paint, you could turn 9 to 5 to 20 to 1. With a little bit of luck. So that's kind of another idea to do it if you are trying to maximize the value there. But
Yep.
all right, you and I are both on. Yeah, no kidding. Evan Monomoy and where are they at? Can we have those two horses running this
Yeah, right.
weekend and make things a little bit easier? All right, you and I are both on number 7, wet paint to win the Kentucky Oaks for Brad Cox.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have those two.
Right, make things easier. At least
Mhm.
give me Justify. Holy cow!
Well, Justify, I would bet $10,000 to win against this field.
I would never have to. I
No.
mean, shit, he would just cruise around there.
Yeah, it would be
Eat,
the easiest Kentucky
eat these
Derby win
horses.
ever. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Saturday at Churchill Downs, the main event of not just the weekend of the year, race 12, the Kentucky Derby, grade 1, $3 million for 3-year-olds, going a mile and a quarter on the main track. And yes, we do have a field of 20, but it has been a new horse been added to the list. Cyclone Mischief is in, and Practical Move is out. Practical Move was the 10 horse. Everybody's going to move down one, and you're going to be your 21 horse all the way to the outside. Is going to be Cyclone Mischief for Dale Romans. We're still waiting to see who is going to ride Cyclone Mischief. So we're learning of this basically on the spot here. So forgive us for not knowing the exact ideas and strategies now with this changing up things a little bit. But Halterman, does the scratch have any impact on you whatsoever? Not necessarily as far as a win or anything, but as far as how you think the race might play out. And 2, where are you leaning?
I think the scratch is going to help horses that are coming from out of it a little bit because I do think now 21 hole Cyclone Mischief, he likes to get out there to the, early on in the pace. I think the only real option from that 21 hole is to try to get him out there. So I think it speeds up the pace a little bit. I don't necessarily think Cyclone Mischief has a huge chance to win. I do think he has a decent chance, better chance than some of them that were already into the field, to at least be up there with a chance to do something. I like that he's in. I think he's deserved to be in. And I really think he's going to help my top pick, Tapit Trice, because I think we are going to need a little bit of pace. I don't think Tapit Trice is going to be up there on the lead, so he's going to need a little bit of pace for him to come back on. You said who do you like? I like Tapit Trice. I'm going to stick with him. I don't think the trip's going to be great. I don't think it's going to be ideal, but I trust that Luis Saez will work it out with him. And the one thing I saw in the bluegrass, Tapit Trice will do what the jockey tells him. A lot of people are like, he's crazy and all this. I don't think he's crazy. I just think he's immature. I think you kind of have to tell him what to do. But anything that Saez told him to do in the bluegrass, he did. And let me tell you something. When you got a horse that's maybe a little goofy and he's in 6th or 7th, and then you ask him to go up into 3rd, and then you ask him to shut it off once he gets in position, and he does it, that to me is enough to say, okay, he might be able to maneuver around and do what Saez needs him to do in the Derby. I thought that was impressive. I totally get it. If you think this horse, there's no chance that he's going to get a good trip, I get it. Don't play him. I think he can work it out. I don't think it'll be a great trip, but I think it'll be good enough.
So a couple things. Um, I think that Cyclone Mischief was where would have made the gate, obviously, without having to draw in there. Being 21 is rough. That's going to be tough for him because he's going to be don't want to be forwardly placed. If he's not, then he's no impact in the race and he's not going to do anything. But if he's gets in a good position, I'm afraid, like, I don't know. Like, the more I don't know if he can hold on because he's gonna have to do a lot of work to get him and Dermot both are gonna, 16th hole and the 20th hole are gonna be going, right, to get up there. And so both of them are gonna have to do some work to get there. And I don't necessarily think Cyclone Mischief has to be on the lead, but he's going to be a factor. You looked at Florida Derby, he ran a nice race. He looked like the winner for half a second in the Florida Derby. Ran a nice race. And found in the youth, he ran a nice race, just got tired late. I think he's going to be a bigger factor in the race in the first half of the race, let's say, than he is going to be in the last half. I'm worried about him holding on with that post position. With that said, I'm with you, Halterman, 100%. I think he deserves to be in the field, and I think he's better than a handful, if not like half of the horses in the race.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing, like, if you like Forte, if you like Mage, you got to like Cyclone Mischief a little bit, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I do like both those horses. I would love Mage if you told me he's going to be sitting fourth on the first turn and up the backside, well, then guess what? I would say, well, Mage has got a big shot, but I am very skeptical he's going to be able to do it. He's just broke so poorly. I don't know that he's going to be able to get himself in position, but I do like him. And listen, I put Forte in second. I'm not going to be shocked at all if he wins. He might just be the right horse at the right time for this race. He's been really, really good. I get it. I just kind of wanted to take a little shot against. And look, I don't know how his trip's going to be either. You saw him break from the 11 hole in the Florida Derby. It was a rough trip. I don't think he can win with that kind of trip here. He's in the 15. Well, I guess now he's in the 14. I think he's going to get a tough trip. And I'm just skeptical to bet him at a short price if I think that.
Yeah, well, the problem is Kevin is certainly may have put Verified above Tapit Trice, but Ed DeRosa put Tapit Trice on top. So maybe those two can cancel each other out and we can just call it a wash and not have to worry about it.
Thankfully, I don't care.
Halterman is on the I don't care train today.
I don't.
He doesn't care, guys. Listen.
I don't care.
Okay, so let's talk about our top pick, number 5, Tapit Trice. I'm on Tapit Trice here as well. Big shock, I know, to everybody. Listen, the more you first see it, I'm worried. The draw, not ideal. I think if we could, hand pick our spot for a horse like Tapit Trice, we wouldn't have picked the 5. I think we can agree with that.
Yep.
With that said, I don't think that the trip is going to be as bad as most people are assuming the trip is going to be. I watched a lot of replays trying to just get an idea of, like, okay, what kind of trip can I expect? Where can I expect to see him? And let me pull up, because this helped me, and maybe it won't help any of you, but you know what? I don't care. Maybe it will help one person, and to me that's enough. Look, I pulled up the Kentucky Derby last year, which we won't watch out the end of it, so don't get too depressed. But okay, there's 3 horses in particular. The 5 was Smile Happy that day, which is obviously where Tapit Trice is. Not necessarily. I wouldn't be. Look at the 10, which was Zandon. Epicenter was the 3. He's gonna be the most forwardly placed of those. But when I watch the 10 Zandon, I get he's drawing 5 spots outside of the 5. But watch where he kind of ends up. Both very similar running styles. Kind of came from way out of it. Turned for home with a huge shot. Just couldn't get the job done. Watch where kind of what Zandon does. He's right here. He gets out of the gate and he's immediately squeezed back. Now watch him. He's right here. He's going to go right to the rail.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I mean, you're sitting there and he's in 15th place, maybe somewhere 13th to 15th place. I have a hard time believing, and mind you, Smile Happy is right here in front of him. So there's the 5 spot. Very similar, he just went straight out, whereas Zandon had to come down. But you got to assume Tabit Trice will be somewhere in this area right here. And Zandon just kind of sits by when they go across the wire the first time. What is he? Probably in 14th or so, 15th. I don't know, somewhere there. So I think, and based off of that last race, Halterman, I know you agree with me that Tabit Trice, even though he's not great out of the gate, I think Saez can get him in a spot to where he is. Here, the pole's in the way. Where he is in a similar spot that Zandon is when they turn for home. Now, maybe he's a little bit further back. Maybe he's like right in here. But I still think he can get in a position where he's not way out here where the 2 is. He's still up close enough. And then, from there, it's like you just got to duck out when you hit the top of the stretch and do what Zandon did. Just the only difference is get the job done.
I mean, if he turns for home and he's where Zandon is, what more can you ask for? And like I said, I think he can work it out. I get it. He's not ideal. He's not polished. But
another thing to think of too, Halterman, I know you made a comment to this the other day. Who's faster, Zandon or Tabit Trice?
I mean, Tabit Trice has shown to be more forwardly placed in his races than Zandon.
And they were obviously one of the fastest, if not the fastest half in Derby history, and he's here. Now, maybe that was enough to take enough salt out of him to where he couldn't get the job done. But point is, I do think Tabit Trice is faster. And he's, right here, he's 8 lengths off the lead.
I think when you watch his last race, as talking about Tabit Trice, you watch that last race, it's all going to be about, let's make sure he's not 20th, right? Like if you go into the first turn and you're 12th, he's really not that much worse off than he was in the Bluegrass when he moved up the backstretch.
Right.
So you just got to get him mid pack. If it were, not 20th, not 19th, not 18th, get him 14th, 15th, where Zandon is, move him to the outside, move him up, and just hope he's good enough. But I think it's very realistic that he could get the trip that you're pointing out for sure.
If you turn for home and he's right here, and then you can even go right either one of these in this area, I don't know how you're holding him off. I don't think you are, And I would argue too that, in the turn, let's say here's Zandon up here. I would argue that Forte might be like over here. Forte very easily could be behind Tabit Trice when they're in the far turn.
I don't think Forte is going to get an ideal trip for sure, because I think with him, they're just going to ride him like the best horse and they're not going to care too much about how wide he is on the first or second turn. They're just going to kind of let him go. He might be the best horse though. That's the thing, but I don't think his trip's going to be just beautiful. I don't see it just a perfect trip lined out for him unless he can show a little more of that early speed, get out of that gate and get up in that first flight. He could maybe do that, but I don't know. I'm skeptical that Forte is going to get that good of a trip either.
I'm going to stop it here. We don't have to watch the rest of it. So, but the point of that is now, obviously, there's a lot that has to go into that. You all racing luck. Zandon, even though, he had every chance to win, he definitely got a great trip. I mean, Pratt to get him in that position was a fantastic job. And you never know. I mean, there could be horses backing up. Tabit Trice could get in traffic. The 1,000 thing, and you said this. I wish it would have been on air, but off air yesterday to all of us, the team. We were kind of talking about the Derby after one of the shows, and Halterman just kind of like let us all have it a little bit. It's like, listen, a million things can happen when they break from the gate. Like you can dream up the trip and say this is going to happen, and Tabit Trice is going to get shuffled back, and this horse is going to be placed perfect. Boom, gates open. Shit, anything could happen. It's 20 horses. It makes when you go to that far, especially when you don't have a horse that stands out, take the horse that you think is the best horse in the race. Now, Halterman and I believe Tabit Trice is the best horse of the race. Maybe you don't, but if your horse is Skinner or if your horse is Angel of Empire or Forte, like if you think he's the best horse in the race, don't let. No, obviously you draw the rail. There's a concern, right? I mean, like that. If you draw the rail, I think if I can attest, be personally, if Tabitha Trice would drew the one spot, he would not be my pick. That would just probably be too much for him to overcome because it has been for every horse that's been the one spot. But I don't think there's enough for me and for the post position to completely change my mind on a horse this year,
No,
anyways.
I again, yeah, the inside is not the place to be, but once you get up to 5, I don't think it gets quite as bad. And again, you might be betting King's Barnes because you think he's going to get a perfect trip, and then he gets squeezed at the rail and he's 15th. That is so possible. That is so possible to any of them. So don't get so worked up in it right now, right? Like last year, Mo Donegal draws the rail. He has no speed. Okay. 9 times out of 10, he's going to get a horrible trip. Okay. That makes sense. But these other ones, I mean, you don't know. Like even like a verifying drawing the 2, he has speed. If he breaks well, he might be okay. Right. So that's just how it is. It's just, you just never know. When the gates open, you don't have a clue what's going to happen. Not a clue. You might think you do. You're kidding yourself. You don't have a clue. And that's what I've learned about sports wagering too. You can sit there and analyze matchups and all this shit for hours. When they drop the puck, when the ball tips off, when they kick it off, you don't have a clue what's going to happen in that game. You don't know who's going to get hurt, who's going to do this, that. You just have to like who you like, make sure you're betting prices that make sense, and hope you get lucky. That's the name of the game. So again, could Tabitha Trice get a bad trip? Yeah, he could. Could he get a good trip? Yeah, he could. I can't control it. All I know is Luis Saez is the jockey. He's been the jockey the last several times. The horse will do what he asks him to do. We've seen it. So I'm just going to trust that Luis Saez will do the right thing. And if he doesn't, how the hell am I supposed to predict that Luis Saez screwed up, one of the best jockeys in the country? I can't predict when that's going to happen. It might, but I can't predict it.
By the way, I saw this. I wanted to comment on this. So John's pick was obviously Practical Move. You guys heard him on Blinkers Off last week for 3 hours, and King's Barnes is a second pick. Tabitha Trice third, and Angel of Empire fourth. That is in his expressbet.com article. I can go ahead and round out his. He has Forte, so Forte would move into his 4th spot. Derma was 6, Skinner 7, 8, 2 fills, Verifying 9, Disarm 10. So I'm not. Though he had Confidence Game as a bubble horse, so Confidence Game I guess would sneak in there to his top 10. But yeah, Practical Move out. King's Barnes would go to his 1 spot. I assume that's where he's going to go. I know he likes King's Barnes quite a bit as well.
I want to jump in on this comment real quick because I get you. He says counterpoint. You have to make those pace and break calls to bet smarter exotics. You have to think about the pace and the break. Yes. What I'm saying is don't get off a horse for that reason and that reason alone. And don't look at a race like I have looked at a race and say, well, I think Tabitha Trice is the best horse. But since he might get a bad trip, I can't play him. That's what I'm saying. You have to take it into account, but don't make it the only reason you don't do something. It's one factor, one of many factors. And, Somich thinks Tabitha Trice will be off the board and he's leaving him out of everything, yet he's playing Mage on top, a horse that's never broke in 3 starts. What's the difference there, right? That's kind of my counterpoint and what got me like, come on, like you're really going to give me shit for picking Tabitha Trice, but you're picking Mage.
Exactly. And to me, it's like Mage has had 2 opportunities to win a race, a stakes race, and he hasn't got the job done. Whereas Tabitha Trice has had 2 opportunities to lose a stakes race, and he got them done both times. So,
yeah.
And it's an opinion. I mean, and to your point, I remember who asked that question, but Hero, it's like, yeah, you do have to, like, especially in a race like the Derby. There's 20 horses. We all have opinions. You have to make a case in your mind of what you think is going to happen, right? You think this horse is going to break poorly, or this horse. That's what it is. It's a game. We're all trying to figure that out and determine what we think. What we're saying and what Halterman's saying is like that's all fine and true. But if you're like, I really love Tapatrice and I kind of like Forte, but I just really love Tapatrice, but damn, those post positions, stick with your gut. That's kind of the point of what Halterman, I think, is trying to say.
Yeah, and to the point on Mage, I don't think it's a horrible pick. I kind of like him, but again, I feel like it's Mage is 15-1, so I'll take my chances versus Tapatrice, who's 5-1. The horses don't know their odds, right? I mean, a bad trip can happen to a 15-1 just as easy as a 5-1. Now, again, Somich doesn't have that strong of an opinion on this year's Derby, so you're taking a shot with it. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying it's kind of funny to say, this Tapatrice, he won't get a good trip. I'll go with Mage. It's like, he might not get a good trip either. He's got a good chance to not. So that's where I was leaning on that one. But and again, I'm not saying don't ever take it into account. I'm saying don't let it be the only determining factor. There's 100 ways to have a bad trip in the Kentucky Derby with this many horses.
Okay, so I have 1,000 different, not 1,000, but I have several different questions or thoughts that I want to go through with you and everyone on here. All right, so a couple things. Let's see. Who's the horse for you now that, especially now that Practical Move's out, because I think he was one that you could make a case for, that you have the most faith in hitting the board? Like who's the horse that you feel like you just know is going to show up with a big effort and maybe isn't good enough to win? We'll find out. But who's that horse for you that you think has got a good opportunity to hit the board, especially when they turn for home?
It's got to be Forte. He's just the most consistent horse, and I think he's going to come with a run. So it's got to be Forte. It has to be Forte for me.
Me too. I think keying him everywhere underneath is a very smart play. I think second and third. I've been saying it all along. I think this horse is going to run really well. Just someone's going to catch him. Someone's going to nail him. I hope it's Tapatrice, but I just have a sense that like he's going to run really good and just not be quite good enough. That's my, and I think you can trust him. So instead of a lot of people might key a horse, on top or something, I like the idea of key. That's what I did with, in the Bluegrass. I keyed Verifying in second because I just had a feeling that horse is going to run really well and just get caught late, and that's what he did. And obviously, it doesn't work out so good every time, but I do think Keenum in second and third. I like him in second over a bunch of horses. We know how that worked out last year. If you would have keyed a bunch of horses over Epicenter, you would have made some money there. But okay, so that's we agree there. I think Practical Move would have been, you could have made a case for him as well beforehand. All right, who's the horse? I've got mine. Who's the horse that you are going to leave off most everything, but is the most likely horse to win?
Oh, King's Barnes for me.
King's Barnes?
Yeah, because he's running well. He projects to get the perfect trip. I just think he's been treated like the third best Pletcher, and I don't have a lot of confidence the third best Pletcher is going to win. But yeah, I think he's going to get a great trip, and he might just sneak up there and do it.
My horse it's King's Barnes. I think that's a very logical answer. And I think to what Chris, because we just don't have any idea what he is, mine would be Two Phils. I have continuously continued to play him and like different bets and different ideas. And he keeps because it's just, he's the one. I mean, Dermot, you can make a case for too, but Two Phils, especially, he just seems like he could be one that if he is what he was last time, he'll be really good. He'll be really tough. He'll be right there. He might not be, that may have been a synthetic freak and he won't run a step here, but it wasn't like he ran poorly even before that. So I do think he will be, and he'll set a pretty decent trip too. He likes to be inside of horses, according to his trainer. And, even his trainer said, is like, listen, maybe the synthetic did move him up. I don't think it did, but it could. It's very possible. We're going to find out, but if it didn't, he's going to be a big shot in this race. So I think there's a case where they turn for home and he's kind of came out a little bit, and now he's starting to and see if he's good enough, but I think Two Fills is one that I'll be using in some sort of bet on top just in case he is as good as that last race.
I don't hate it because that last race was really good. Just the dirt races haven't. So he either woke up and he's now can run on the dirt too, and it was just that, or the synthetic surface moved him up. It could go either way. There's really no way we're going to know until Saturday, unfortunately. So I like it. It's a good pick. Definitely a good pick. There's another one, Kings Barn and Two Fills. They both should get a trip. So, they should turn for home with a chance.
And I think one thing that I want to also mention on here is I get that like things are made to be broken, and John mentioned this as well when we had him on last week. Is even though it did get broken, the Curse of Apollo, it's basically happened twice. Justify being the last one in 2018, and it's twice in what 140 years, 100,
Hmm.
um, since the last time. So it's like, to me, not winning at two or not running at two, I'm sorry, is still a huge factor for me in these races, and we've seen it time and time again. And yeah, obviously, Justify was just a freak, but you've got a few in here, right? That Mage being one, Kings Barnes being another, that just have that to go up against as well.
Yep. No, absolutely. And like you said, one time doesn't break. I mean, it does break the streak, but the trend is still pretty strong. Um, I do think it's something that's going to happen again sooner rather than later, and it could be this year, just because of how things shake out now when horses get started, how they train horses. So uh, I don't hate playing that. A horse, if listen, if I thought the horse was good enough, I probably wouldn't worry about it. Let's put it that way. But I'm worried that the horse isn't quite good enough. We're talking about Kings Barnes, and that is just kind of an extra thing, right?
Yeah, and that's a good way. That's a good way to say it, because, like with Justify, obviously picked him. We picked him the whole Triple Crown. Um, it was like, yeah, I get it, but
Yeah.
I get it, but like he was like clearly, like you could tell this horse was something special, and even though I definitely am on the side of we don't know how good Kings Barnes is, and he could be. I mean, unlikely he could be like Justify. I don't know. I mean, we don't really know much about him yet. He doesn't. We've barely seen him run. Unlikely, and to me, there's enough there to at least say, you know what, if he does it, then he's a lot better horse than I probably expected him to run.
Yeah.
And it is what it is past that. But okay, another horse to mention here. We're gonna try to run through as many of these as we can. Seems like seems like the last one standing over there, Skinner. Skinner out of that Santini Derby. It's like, geez, it's like we finally get a horse to run in here. Santini Derby, Practical Move out. Man and Hero, he's on the outside looking in. Skinner, obviously Practical Move in the San Felipe wins. Go Rock or Ride, he's out. Like Skinner out of that West Coast is like the only one standing. And here he shows up going longer, obviously, than he ever has, and seems like a horse that could definitely benefit. If you think, just like Tapit Trice, just like Angel of Empire, a horse that should very well benefit from quicker up front and coming late.
Yep. I think he's one you've got to put on your tickets underneath for sure. I'm not sure he's good enough to get all the way up. And why would I say that? Well, boy, the last two races, he sure did look like he was going to be a winner, especially the San Diego Derby. I thought he was going to win. We were watching it live. I said, oh my gosh, Skinner's going to win. He's matured. He got better going a little bit longer. Just kind of hung there. He just couldn't quite get by. Here we are again. I bet you he's going to come and he's with a run that's going to make you go, oh gosh, Skinner may do it. I just don't have confidence he's going to get all the way there. But I like this horse. He's coming into the race pretty darn well.
Yeah, my thing, like to me, it's like I understand everything about it. Why you would like this horse? I
Mhm.
just, yeah, I mean, he hung quite a bit there. It's like if he couldn't get the job done in those races, I'd get, I think it might be a little bit of a visual effect of one of those like, oh, they go longer, he'll get there, and it's
Yeah.
just I don't know that's the case. I'd like to have seen at least one. If he would have got up and won the Santini Derby, I would probably be a lot more interested. But he just can't seem to quite get it done and doing it in the Derby. Hitting the board, I think he makes a lot of sense for third, fourth. Because if this thing does kind of melt down, he definitely feels like a horse that just gets stronger towards the end of the race. And frankly, one of the horses that does want to go this far, So using him underneath for me is more probable. Not gonna. He's one that I can't pick to win though.
Mm-mm. No, I couldn't do it either.
Let's see. Have you heard any updates on who's going to ride Cycle Mischief? You see anything?
Corey Lannery.
Corey Lannery. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Lannery in the Kentucky Derby. All right. Let's see. Derma. I know we talked a little bit about Derma, but where are you at? You've gone from to me. He's another one kind of similar to Two Phils that I'll be playing a little bit defensively on top, just in case he were to be as good as a lot of people think he is. But most likely now, especially with the practical move scratch, you got to think that 10-1 is going to take a big hit.
Yeah, I think he's going to take money for sure now. And I think he was anyway. I think Angel of Empire is certainly going to take it as well. So, look, I like Derma. I'm not going to be shocked at all if he wins the race. Quite frankly, wouldn't be shocked if he won by a couple links. Also, wouldn't be shocked if he finishes 15th. He's all or nothing. And I think how you kind of have it structured is right. You either put him on top of something or you don't use him because we just don't know what he is. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. That's kind of where I fell on him. But again, it's just a guess. That's a total guess on my part. We have no idea until we see him match up here. I respect the hell out of you if you're going to play him. I don't think it's a bad pick. End of the day, I just could not get there putting him on top. Think you got to play him defensively.
Yeah, he's 7-1 max. I think that's probably, and if you got to assume, like, if he's going to be 7-1, what's Tapit Trice going to be? Is he going to be 4-1? You got to think that Forte will probably stay at that 3-1. Could go to 5-2. I think 3-1 probably, but I think Tapit Trice could be right there behind him for 5-1, just because of the practical move scratch. There's just who are you going to play? I mean, Kings Barnes is going to definitely take money. I think there's no doubt about that. I'd say Kings Barnes, his price would probably be like what, 7, 8-1, somewhere in there.
Yep, I would say so.
So I mean, really, you're going to have a bunch of horses. Who's the horse that's out of that on the list here? Let's say that's outside of 12-1 up that you think is going, besides say Kings Barnes, we just talked about him, that you think could get bet to single digits? Is there any?
That's a good question.
I mean, Derma, obviously, but he's 10. I don't know if there's anyone other higher than that that could just get pounded.
Verifying might get bet, but I don't think he's going to get bet down to less than 10-1.
By the way, I got to mention, it was so. It wasn't just us. It's everybody. They literally said Jace's Road was 15-1, and if you were watching the live stream, you thought you heard us go nuts. Like, how is this horse 15-1? And it was on the website on Kentucky Derby website.com, and like, this is just crazy. Everyone you talked to, even Brad Cox himself, thought that was nuts. And then we looked yesterday just randomly, and we're like, wait, it's 50-1 now. It was a typo. They messed up when they announced it.
Yeah.
Welcome
good
to horse
job.
racing. So,
really good job.
Really,
it's
really
not that big a race, at least, though. So
you had one job. You had one job.
Kind of like how we can't time the Florida Derby every year. It's not that big a race. No big deal.
I'm sure. The odds. What's lower odds? What Forte goes off of, or the odds that we mistime the Kentucky Derby? And there's. All right. Yeah. So, are you kind of on the side of like, you think this thing is gonna like sub 47? You think it's gonna be fast?
Yeah, now Cyclone's in there as well. I think that helps. A lot of speed to the inside. I think they'll go fairly fast, right? I don't think they'll go too fast as far as if you're good enough, you can take it, but I don't think anybody's going to steal it on the front end.
Definitely went from I want one of these horses on the front end to thinking, well, this thing could actually, it's not like last year, but it's gonna melt down a little bit.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, truth. He's out. You can't bet practical move because he's out. All right. Final thoughts on the Kentucky Derby. I know we've got a lot of changes to be making here
Yeah.
in on the site and the Bible, so stay tuned for that. I know at least there's a couple of people that picked Practical Move. So
Yeah, I've been getting
um,
text messages for new top fives, so I or top fours, so we can get that going pretty quick, probably.
yeah, so we'll have that going here pretty soon. It's always it's better than the day before, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. But
Yep. Yep.
at this time, wasn't it this day? Wasn't it Thursday last year that Rich Strike got in?
I
Or
thought it
was
was
it Friday? Or was
Friday.
it
I thought they made
Wednesday?
a big deal about it was right before the scratch time. I'm not sure on that though.
Hmm. Well, um, what's the weather like? Do you know? Have you looked?
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna tell everybody right now. Whatever's forecasted, it don't matter. That is they never get it right. Okay. They have changed this thing 100 times. And I'll never forget the first year we went, they said it's going to rain on Oaks Day. This was the day before. It's going to rain on Oaks Day, but it's going to be beautiful on Derby
Yeah.
Day. It was beautiful on Oaks Day, and it never stopped raining for a second on Derby Day. So they got it absolutely wrong. I'm looking at it now. Again, this has changed 100 times. You're just going to have to adjust on the fly. There's no other way around it. Right now,
Oh wow, look at it now.
we have Friday, no rain. Saturday, only a 24% chance of rain.
Yep. No
But
rain at all
again,
Friday.
I'm telling you, don't trust it. I've been the next year I went, they're like, oh no, rain won't be in until late that night on Derby Day. It'll be fine. It was almost as bad as it was in 2018. I mean, you can't trust it. So I'm just telling
Dude,
you.
and all day, 2018, all day Saturday, they kept saying, "Well, it's almost done. It's almost done.
Yep.
By the Derby gets here, it's going to be beautiful." It rained. It never stopped raining.
Just be ready. And again, the forecast is very meaningless at Louisville. I've learned that over the years. Hot Springs as well. They never get it right there either. So just remember that.
That's true. Is there a horse? Is there a mudder you like?
I think our horse would be okay in the mud.
Yep, I do
And I
too.
think wet paint would be obviously, but wet paint would be good in the mud. So
I, the horse that I would, yeah, there you go. Rob, thanks. The horse that I think I would, hmm, I thought about this yesterday because I was kind of making a funny ticket if it were to be a mess. I think the horse that I would move up the most if there was slop would be probably Two Fills. I think the fact that Two Fills has won on a sloppy track at Churchill Downs, did that last fall, and then of course won on synthetic last time out, tells me that maybe he very could be like the synthetic, likes the slop, likes the turf, even possibly. So to me, Two Fills would even elevate even more for me.
Two Phil's confidence game is another one. Saw him win in the slop in the Rebel, and I thought he ran fantastic over it. So confidence game certainly would move up for me. Like I said, we've seen Tappa Trice run okay in the slop. Don't have any problem moving him up a little bit. But as far as downgrading, I don't really have anybody I would downgrade. There's not a lot of Jason's Road. He hates the slop, but I didn't have him. You can't downgrade a horse from 20th, I guess. So I guess it wouldn't matter actually. So I'll take that one back.
Disarm I mean, Jason's Road. I can't imagine. That's like the one horse that's like looks like you would absolutely hate it if it were to rain. I guess the one huge the rich strike of the field if it rains is number 16, Raise Cane. There you heard it. You heard it here. If it rains, Raise Cane will be bet. I'll bet Raise Cane even because look, it's impossible, right? But so was Rich Strike. And this horse dominated the Gotham, which was a trash race, anyways. But he dominated the Gotham in a muddy, nasty track. People will bet him if it is raining.
I'll put him in the winner circle right now. He would be a bigger surprise than Rich Strike to me.
No,
So,
that's impossible. You can't.
I
No
agree.
way.
I went too far, but
You went too far. Don't.
he is him and Jace's Road are the two where it's like if they win, I'll just be sitting here like I don't know. I don't know anymore. But listen, there's never you never say never, but that was one of the most unlikely winners not only in the Derby, but the history of racing for me, honestly. So last year. So I've learned I'm not going to say shit like that again, but they would be very surprising to see those two horses win.
Well, and I think we've talked a lot about this on the live shows throughout the week. It's like it is going to be very interesting to see how these horses are bet. If you have the Rich Strike effect a little bit, we had it last year in the Triple Crown Trail afterwards. How are we going to be betting these horses this year? Not letting everyone's gonna be talking about. Well, you remember last year? Like I'm betting this, so I don't feel like you're definitely. I don't. You're not going to get a price like that. You think? I imagine most of these horses will be bet off of if the ones that are 50 to 1 will be bet down from those 50 to 1 prices just purely because you're not going to let Rich Strike happen to you again. A lot of people will be betting uh, those horses. All right. Final thoughts of your pick, and give me your pick. Give people your pick, and kind of like a sign up, like there's a little bit of an idea of like why you're picking them.
I mean, Tappa tries is the pick. I saw what I saw at the Bluegrass, and I just think he's the one that is the best and most talented horse in the race. Uh, we saw him in the paddock. He just looked phenomenal. Post parade, he looked phenomenal. Up the backside, when he made that move up to third, I looked at you and I said, "Hey, he's the one." Like that's exactly what he needed to do. Verifying takes off. I've seen Brad Cox horses run all meet at Keeneland. When they run like that, they don't lose. That one lost. And that one lost because Tappa Trice is really good. I'm sticking with him. I understand if you think he's going to get a poor trip, you don't want any part of him. That's fine. That's your opinion, and you can back your opinion. I'm going to back mine. I think he's the best horse in the race. I trust that Luis Saez will tell him what to do. I trust that Tappa Trice will listen. So I'll go Tappa Trice. I'll take my chances.
Luis Saez is going to get his officially first Kentucky Derby win. He had it in his hands, got DQ'd. He's going to get one here. Tappa Trice, he stays put. He knows this is his horse. There's no better jockey in the race, period. And there's no better jockey in the race to ride this horse, Tappa Trice. I think he's going to work the trip out. Listen, at the end of the day, it's a horse race. It's 19 other horses. He's going to have to work a trip, but I want the best horse. By the way, the best looking horse as well. This horse looks the part as well. It's not like he's just running well. He looks amazing out there on the track. I've heard a lot of good reports on him as well. So Tappa Trice for me. I believe the bottom line for me, I believe Luis can get him in the spot he needs to have a chance to win. And that past that, I think the horse is good enough to get the job done. That's as simple as it is for me. I think Saez can put him in a position to win the race. Yep. Past that, he's going to have to run. I think he's good enough to run, so we'll find out. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Tappa Trice. He's been my horse all year. I hope he can get the job done here in Kentucky Derby 149. Everybody, good luck. There you go. It feels good, right? It feels good to say it, get it done, say it, confirm it.
Well, last one thing about it, he's one of the few that have shown multiple times that he can sit closer to the pace. He in his look, go back and look at his allowance race. He sat close,
Yeah.
And then you look at the Bluegrass. Sure, he got shuffled, but he got in position and he sat close. I just listen. You turn for home and he's fourth or fifth. I'll take my chances with him. Maybe he doesn't win, but that big gray, if he's in position, that long stretch at Churchill, I think he'll be tough.
Listen, and maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong once, or twice. I just think that out of everyone in the field, he might be the horse that I'm least concerned about a trip, because I just think he can keep going. Like, we all say like he's a Belmont horse, right? And maybe he is. Maybe we'll find, maybe he gets in trouble here and has traffic and he's the Belmont horse, and very possible. But like, I think, based on trip, make him wide, make inside, he has to go outside. It's like he's going to keep coming. And that's why I have the feeling of if Luis can just put him in a spot in that, backstretch into the far turn, if he can put him in the spot, then he either is or isn't the horse I thought he was, right? And past that, it's like now if he's in 18th, 19th, 20th, gets shuffled back, gets pinched again, you know what I mean? And now we're hitting the far turn and he's in 18th, then you're thinking, well, shit, he's gonna run like fourth or fifth, and you're gonna be like, what would have been, sort of thing. So that's very possible too, right?
Yep.
But I just believe he's gonna get him in a better spot than that. I think they have to. I think they know it. They have to, or else the race is over.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't watch last year's analysis, Kevin, about who I liked in the Derby, and I've never lost. So
That's right.
we had a guy email the company or the site the other day talking about how he was nice. Like I don't want to throw him under the bus, but it was just like, I know you guys don't watch California and and California horses and Jared, I know because I think I made a mention like there's not a lot like which is, by the way, Skinner is the horse now. If you look at it coming out of that I don't like the Cali horses this year, and basically and I was like, dude, I think I've picked like 7 of the last 11 Cali horses to win the Derby, including like the biggest biggest cheerleader of Taba last year. It's like, dude, I'm like the opposite of that, and clearly I was wrong. Hey, by the way, Jack, we're not non-believers of Forte. I have Forte keyed in second. Just think he's going to get ran down, but I definitely think if you said gun to your head, who is the most likely horse that you like have to pick to hit the board, I would pick Forte.
Yeah. Sometimes people listen and like make up things that we said. Like some guy wrote a whole thing, and again, nice guy, not, but it just made me laugh of like, you need to go back, you need to watch this Florida Derby, you need to look what Forte did. And I literally wrote him back and I said, all the things you said, I said in the video. Like, no other horse in this crop could have won the Florida Derby that day with that trip. And all this stuff is like, just because I have a horse in second doesn't mean I hate him and I hate you. It just means I have him in second.
Yeah,
But I have
and
total respect for him.
and, and unfortunately, you're always judged in this game,
Yeah,
especially what we do. You're always judged in this game for your losses and not your
yeah,
wins.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
we told everybody that listened that Justify would win the Triple Crown. We told everybody that listened that Pharaoh was a bit, of course, this was way early on. We told everybody that listened that Flightline was going to win the Classic. People laughed and said, "You can't." This horse. Now I get a lot of people didn't, but
yeah,
you don't hear anything about those. But when you pick Teba to win the Derby, oh, I still hear about that.
exactly. And that's part of it. That's part of it. But look, when I say, "Hey, Luis Saez, he's a great jockey," that doesn't mean I hate Irad Ortiz and think he sucks. It just means I like it, Luis. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't having a horse second out of 20 and saying, "Boy, I won't be surprised at all if he wins, and I'm going to have him in everything." That doesn't mean I hate him. That means I like him. It just means I like Tappa Trice just a bit more as I put him in first.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingnews.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News premium button at the menu at racingnews.com to learn more. Remember to go get the Derby and Oaks betting Bible to be updated soon with the practical move scratch. So stay tuned for that. And again, if you're going to go buy this, if you have bought it, I get that tomorrow's the Oaks, the Saturday's the Derby, but we're gonna spend the time to make sure this is right. Make sure we're not putting out a product that's just so you have it the day before. We will get it out to you. It'll be out there. You'll get an email saying, "Hey, it's updated. It's out there. Go get it. Download it." It will be available soon at racenews.com. Remember, you'll get the exact race by race wagering plans from myself and Halterman, the two founders of racingdudes.com. You're going to see how we're playing every race Friday and Saturday, not just the stakes races, every single race, how we're betting those. Some of our biggest opinions are on the undercard. In fact, they are. Pick 4 and pick 5 tickets, pick 3 tickets. Everything you want is included on that as well. You're going to get horse capsules for the entire field, including Cyclone Mischief, who's now in the race. We have ROI included, so we have a plus 25% ROI combined together. Top 4 consistent picks as well will be in that for every single race on Friday and Saturday, not just from us, but from the entire team. Magic and Somich and Dr. Miranda and Vinny, Papa Dude, we're all in there. Did I miss anybody? No, I don't think so. If I did, I apologize. But the whole team, if you've seen them on this channel, they're on there for the top 4 picks for both Oaks and Derby days. What's the Magic Mike team doing? Do you know? Are they just talking Derby stuff?
Yeah, they're doing the pick 4 that ends in the Derby.
Pick 5. Doing the pick 5 preview. Races 8 through 12. So that'll be a good one coming up later this afternoon right here. Make sure you stay tuned for that. The late pick 5 on Derby days. See if they can. I think we'll pay stacks if you get that one home. Remember, we're on Twitter at @racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. I need to give Dr. Miranda which is scary. You need to give. She'll be live. She'll be at the Derby covering for us while we stay put. And so look for her if you're there. And she'll also be tweeting and posting different things. So stay tuned for that. Remember, you can find all our episodes of Blinkers Off on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you listen to. We are on there. You can check out our podcast page on our racingdudes.com site or go to YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe because tons more coming your way. Tons out there already. We'll be live both tomorrow and Saturday during of course, the Oaks and the Derby all day, really, for that matter. I hope you like us because you're going to get your fix. And if you don't like us, you're going to hate us. So final thoughts, Halterman. It's the Derby podcast. It's the final podcast we will be doing. Blinkers Off before we get a winner. So final thoughts, Oaks and Derby thoughts.
Well, yeah, like I said, you're going to see a lot of us. We'll be here Friday. We'll be here Saturday. I like wet paint. I like tap and trice. What can I say? I think those are the 2 to back. Got bigger opinions on the undercard, so hopefully we hit those, and you kind of just whatever we do in the Derby and the Oaks is kind of just gravy. That's the hope. That's how I've kind of structured it. So it's gonna be a great 2 days, guys. We gotta get out of here. We got work to do, as Jared said.
All right, before we leave here, guys, I'm gonna put it on the live shows are going to be Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and Saturday will be 1:45 Eastern time for those live shows. Obviously, to go. Are we really going Saturday at 12:45? All day event, folks. So you can come in, you can leave, you can come back, you can come, leave, whatever you want to do. We'll be here. And I'm sure Magic's happy that we're all going to be on here because last year it was just him and a drunk and Vinny. So,
yep.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time here, guys. Friday, whether we, hopefully we're cashing bets too. And that's the plan, right? And you can follow along. If you go get the betting Bible, Halter and I will be rooting them live on the air. You can root with us. We'll be drinking. We'll be having a good time. Hopefully cashing tickets. Make sure you go get that Bible here soon. Get it now, and we'll alert you when it's updated because we have work to do, Halterman. All right, guys. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for just following us the whole prep season for the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. And hey, you know what? Let's see if we can get a winner home on Friday and Saturday. Good luck in the Oaks and the Derby, guys.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track across the country. We're ramping up for the 2023 Kentucky Derby, and we want you to join us in the fun. Subscribe to Racing Dudes YouTube channel and click the notification bell so you never miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.